Friends and enemies, welcome back. Canadian Bitcoiners Podcast, episode 193. About 193 more to go before we finally break 100,000 and stay there by the sounds of things. My name is Joey. I'm back from hiatus. Len is here. Buddy, what's going on? It's great to see you back in the saddle again.
Yeah, we're finally back together again. It's been a month, give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's 97K, Joey. We were at 100K earlier. I don't know. It's time to slit our wrists, I think, right? And just it's done, right? Like we're poor again. 97.
The experiment has failed. The experiment has failed.
You know, the one funny thing is it's not showing on mine, but it's showing on yours. The dollar sign is back. So now when the digits hit 6, as in 100,000 or higher, the dollar symbol on the block clock disappears.
I love it.
I have a picture of it.
I love it, man. I saw a bunch of people talking about whether the block clock will work at 100K, including zero hedge, which I thought was pretty funny.
Why wouldn't it work at 100K? It worked at a million too.
Just another square, right? I got my chocolate milk here. I'm ready to go.
How tired are you, Joey?
What's the best way to describe the feeling? The adrenaline's worn off for sure. That first couple of days, you're really running on adrenaline. Yeah. The kid, she has exited her bundle of joy phase and is
what
now
is her name?
I prefer not to say on the air, but I'm happy to say I had a healthy baby girl.
Have you said it before? Like somewhere in a public setting?
Her name?
Yeah.
It's on my Instagram. My Instagram's pretty tightly locked down.
Is it?
I had to lock it down after the Karadza's appearance went absolutely nuts online because now I have all sorts of angry Indians mad at me about the status of their education, their education grant or whatever. Anyway, so the house here busy, but it's amazing, man. I mean, there's like a number of different people I talked to and have spoken to before and after the baby was born, about what to expect and the things that you can, hope for and the worst parts of things and the best parts of things. And, I would say that most of those people were right at some level. The thing that you're just not ready for, Len, for the first week or so is that you just don't sleep. The baby doesn't sleep almost at all for more than 2 hours at a time. You basically, the max you can go, this is what the doctors say, the max you can go in between feeds for the first month or so, 3 hours exactly. So Kenzie has been an absolute warrior, getting up, feeding, trying to get the baby to go back to sleep without waking me up. It's been pretty successful. I'm kind of getting used to it now. I can tune out most of the crying. But
I told you that exactly, that the stomach is yay big when they're born.
Yeah. It's like an ounce or 2 ounces they drink basically every feeding.
And they metabolize that stuff so fast that by the time it's emptied again, it's only 2 to 3 hours and you're back at it to square one. And REM sleep, you don't get it.
No, it's
whoever feeds it doesn't get it.
Yeah, Kenzie's probably not getting it as often as she should, but she's been great. She's recovered really well from the surgery and the recovery.
Imagine having twins,
fantastic. Joey. We have friends with twins, so I don't have to imagine it, but it's like, they say it's brutal. So there's been
them, man.
I'll level with you guys and the listeners too. Like, there's been some laughs, there's been some tears, there's been some waves of emotion. Like, you got to figure the hormonal changes Kenzie goes through in the first month, pretty wild, but she's been rock solid. The amount of support we've had from family, and then even people who've like been on the show reached out to me over the break to ask like how the baby was. Mike Campbell, who I'll mention by name. I told him we were having the C-section on whatever day we had it, and he messaged me. He sent me an email like that night and was like, "Hey, more important things here. Like, how's the baby? Everything go okay?" So I talked to him and
Joey, show off that shirt.
Yeah, you like
it's hard to see it because it's kind of
my
Cool Dad's Club for people that are not watching us. Cool Dad's Club.
Yeah, my sister-in-law got that for me. My Mike's 2 whites and a blue, Mike's girlfriend. So it's been really exciting, a lot of support, and Len, I owe you a big thank you, because when we were talking about what I was going to do in the lead up to the baby being born, you said you're not gonna be able to do the show. You said it's gonna take at least a month, to settle in. And you said that there would be no way that even if I tried to do the podcast Monday nights and the other Thursday night show, it's not about always needing the trouble or always needing the help or like always being trouble with the baby. It's about you just can't schedule when you're going to be needed. And you're 100% right. anything can happen at any time, where you need two sets of hands on deck. And for the first little while, we really felt like that, but we've settled in. So thank you to you for holding down the fort on both shows. Thank you to the amazing guest hosts we had. On this show, we had Mr. Arnome, we had Boomer, we had Mark, and we had Scott Deedles fill in over the 4 weeks. Incredible. Big shout out to all those guys. And then on the other show, Mark and Praveen Pereira filled in for me while I was gone. Outstanding work by those guys. I tried to listen as much as I could. And I know that over the years, we've had some really great guest hosts, but this was really important that we got these guest hosts. It wasn't just like we were sick or away on vacation or, at the cottage or whatever, like in the past, but I really couldn't be there for this. And to all those guys and to you, Len, thank you very much. And to you guys listening and watching, you guys are incredible. I've been keeping an eye on the comments and whatnot, and I am super pumped to be back, even though I do appreciate that I was able to spend some time away.
Yeah, Joey, next year, I'm gone for a little while. So late next year. But I may still try to do it from parts unknown or for parts very known. Going back to the motherland. So maybe I'll do it from down there. But you know what, Joey? We'd have to do it earlier. I'm just kind of spitballing.
Yeah, because it's like 8 hours?
6 hours.
Like that? 6
hour
okay.
difference. So yeah, like it would be tough to do it for me like 1 o'clock in the morning. But like if we schedule a little bit earlier, maybe it's possible. But then it would be the International Bitcoiners podcast over there.
That's right.
Well, it could be the prelude to what's bigger and better things for all of us, right?
We have much to do, this year, and both personally, professionally, and now the show too. But let's save a little bit of this for another time. We got to talk about the sponsors. EasyDNS, Mark and the team, the best in Silo when it comes to registrars and making sure that you're protected, getting the best service, getting the easiest method in terms of bringing your domain over, buying a domain, you name it. Mark and his guys have got you covered. Whether it's making sure that you have your email stuff set up, whether it's making sure that you're able to use simple stuff like WordPress to post and do blogs, whether it's domain share, making sure that you're not getting taken for a ride by hackers and nefarious actors the world over. God knows there's plenty of them. EasyDNS has your back. Don't forget to, short of, extreme racist content, which Mark has mentioned to us, he's pulled down off his platform, proudly so. It's almost impossible for Mark to find you so offensive that you'll be removed from his platform. You are uncensorable with EasyDNS, and that's one of the things we like. Head over, use our promo code, tell Mark we sent you, and you get half off, I think, right? Is that the deal? God, it's been so long. I didn't even think about the ads. You get half off your first round of buys with EasyDNS. So load the cart, save as much as you can, and get on the train with Mark and team.
Yeah, so EasyDNS is our first sponsor. Bull Bitcoiner sponsor number 2. And just to give a tie-in to this coming Wednesday, I'll be talking to Pablo from Bull Bitcoin, and Nathan from Bitcoin Mentor. They'll be coming on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So Pablo will be there, and hopefully he'll talk a little about Bull Bitcoin as well. But I'll talk about it right now because it's a great place to buy and sell your Bitcoin. Maybe you're looking at the price you want to sell. Maybe you're looking at the price you want to buy. Maybe you could do both of them or none of them. Either way, you could do it all with Bull Bitcoin. And it's going to be non-custodial. So when you buy with them, they don't hold any of your Bitcoin. You have to send it directly to a wallet as soon as you execute the buy. This is the way you want it. You don't want anybody to hold on to your Bitcoin. On-chain, Lightning, they got you covered both ways. I'm just checking right now on my node. 4 sats per VByte was the last block that was mined. That was the average fee. Very low, so on-chain is the way to go. I wouldn't look at Lightning just yet, but at least set it up, get that ready when times are getting more expensive for moving your Bitcoin. What else could you do with Bull Bitcoin besides buying and selling? Well, you could use it to pay your bills with their bill service. So if you want to pay, say, your cell phone bill or a car payment or whatever, you have the ability to pay your bill with your Bitcoin. Look, the price of Bitcoin's $97K. You might as well start using it one way or another. And that's one way you could use it through Bull Bitcoin. Another way you could use it, you could start buying gift cards, like an Amazon gift card, a Home Depot, whatever, because right now it's the holiday season. People are buying gifts. Why not get a gift card and use that gift card to buy the gift for your loved one, your friend, or your enemies, whatever you want. Either way, with that, you're going to be using Bitcoin to purchase your stuff. So you're kind of living on a Bitcoin standard, so to speak, all thanks to Bull Bitcoin. And if you haven't yet opened an account, do so with our promo code below, and you'll be given $21 to your account once you fund it and provide all the necessary information.
Love it. Decentral Tech is our third sponsor. Len, you got the unit there? Oh, hell yeah.
It's here. It's
CBP bit. And shipping now, I think the orders are what was it, 700, whatever? Is that the
Yeah, it's
first universe?
70,000, I think it was. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
like
if
I have
you're in that
mine.
cohort, if you're in that cohort, you're gonna be getting yours soon. If you haven't ordered one yet, you should. And even if you don't want to support the show in that way, go to Decentral Tech and buy a Bitaxe, an S9, some heating stuff. Talk to the guys about how to make sure that you're using your S9 the most efficient way possible. Get your board repaired. Get all that stuff
Show the
done.
stats. It was
Outstanding.
1.2 terahash, and it was 16 joules per terahash, which wasn't too bad for this.
Can't beat that, man. Can't beat that. Like that's a couple $100 for a little trinket and a lottery ticket that runs every 10 minutes. Can't beat that. OLG doesn't have a game like that, and neither does FanDuel or DraftKings. The guys at Decentral Tech are best in the business. We actually have a friend of the show who was just over at the, what are we going to call it? The warehouse, the plant, the facility last week.
No, there was an event going on. It was a Bitcoin event in Montreal.
Right.
And then that's where they showed up.
I thought he actually went right there.
He may have.
I think he did. But either way, like these guys are plugging away constantly. And, I will say that I realize that they're a little behind on the CBP orders, but they're behind on a lot of stuff because the amount of support they're getting, thanks to shows like this, thanks to their activity in terms of decentralizing the mining space. This is important stuff, man. We talk about this on the show a lot. And it's one thing for you to be a Bitcoiner. It's another thing entirely for you to help grow the hash rate in a way that's not corporate. We don't like that on this show, okay? And that's why we partnered with them. Head over. There's no promo code. Buy something. Talk to the guys. Make sure that you're doing the best things you can with the mining gear that you have. And, of course, you can't beat a CBP Bitaxe. Say it one more time. Limited edition. Not going to be another run. I don't think anyway, maybe. But for now, this is the only one you can get. So head over and spend some dough, man. Help the boys out. Len, boost?
I only have one because I'm having some difficulty logging in to my account, and I had to scroll through this, so I had to manually go through it. It was a recent boost. So thank you, Jordab, for 570 sats. He says to help fund a booster seat for the CBP jet.
Booster seat?
Yeah, because you got to bring the little one on the CBP
plus it's
jet.
in a boost too. Nice. I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Maybe there's room for the booster seat on the jet, but I don't think we're gonna get one, right? When did we discuss?
Not at 96,000. We gotta wait till 196,000 minimum.
Even then, we first thing first, we're gonna go public before we do anything.
Right.
And I'm just gonna lay it out there right now. I'm gonna dilute the fuck out of the company. So I would suggest don't invest a penny in, because you are gonna get wrecked in the process. But yeah, they're just gonna dilute, and just keep doing that to buy more Bitcoin. I don't care.
I love it.
That's my MO.
I'm talking to Haley Welsh's people about how to best take CBP public.
So
where do you want to start? Where should we begin tonight's episode?
Okay, we'll talk about something I don't have much to say, but you probably do, because El Salvador is Financial Times, I got first to say.
Yeah.
Broke a story. And in the past, Financial Times has been wrong. So potentially they're wrong with this one. We'll see how things play out. But right now, it's the rumor that El Salvador is getting cozy with the IMF, and there's going to be a $1.3 billion loan that is going to be handed out from the IMF to El Salvador. I'd be thinking it'd be the other way around, how successful El Salvador has been for the past few years. But no, El Salvador is going to be getting a loan from the IMF. And with that, there comes a few things that they have to do. So they're going to basically stop the use of Bitcoin legal tender within El Salvador. That's interesting if that's going to be the case. They're saying that there's concerns with Bitcoin being used in the way it is, and them buying Bitcoin. It creates some financial instability or potential financial instability in El Salvador. But I mean, if you're looking at it from today's point of view, it's been a raging success. Everything they've done with Bitcoin. Yeah. Maybe the adoption rate in terms of using it as a currency has not been much of a success, but buying it on it cheap and mining on it cheap certainly has been. It's been a great success financially for them. And so they have these unrealized gains they could take advantage of if they want. If not, they could borrow against it or just hodl it and just hang on to it. But still, it looks like there's going to be some changes going on with El Salvador. We had one country that has been using it as legal tender, and if the Financial Times is correct, the number will be going down to 0. There'll be no more countries out there that have Bitcoin as legal tender.
Well, it's not that they don't. It's not that they don't have it as legal tender, right? So the article in question that the IMF is making them back off of is forcing merchants to accept it as payment. Fine. I personally don't understand that. Anyways, like either we're winning because this is the best money and merchants want it, or we're losing because we're forcing people to accept it vis-a-vis government decree. Right? There's a name for that second one, by the way, fiat. And when I look at the whole like story, I've looked in a couple different places. I don't really think like FT is painting this in a difficult or demeaning or dishonest light. They make note that Bukele's done a great job, even though they don't love the means of cracking down on violent gangs and making sure crime has been lowered. He's doing well with the economy, things like this. The other thing is that Bukele didn't give this concession just for 1.3 from the IMF. It also opens up, I'll read from the article, the deal is expected to be finalized in the next 2 or 3 weeks. The deal is expected to unlock another $1 billion of lending from the World Bank and $1 billion from the Inter-American Development Bank over the next 2 years. Now, friend of the show, SB and I were talking this morning, toilet talk this morning while I was pushing a log. And, we're kind of going back and forth about why they would do this. And I do want to hear his comment, but I think what he would say and what I'm going to say is if you can get cheap money from the IMF and you don't really need it, and the concession that you make is not really that much of a concession, why not do it? He's done, and I'm really changing my tune on Bukele here because, I've been pretty tough on him over the last few years. He's done such a good job outwitting and outgunning every NGO, sort of fake support NGO out there, whether it's the IMF or, you name it. Why isn't it possible that he's doing something strong here, taking the cheap money on favorable terms? And if all he had to give up was that one part of his Bitcoin bill, then I'd say maybe it's a win. Plus, what I couldn't find is there stipulations on what he can spend it on. Is the money earmarked for certain things? The IMF is notorious for that, but I don't see any in the story.
So if they take that money and say buy Bitcoin or use that to
I didn't say it, but that is on my mind for sure.
So
it's on my mind for sure.
I'm almost willing to bet that there's going to be something in there that prevents them from doing that. If they're going to go to this lengths to say that their merchants are no longer going to accept Bitcoin, why wouldn't they put that in the wording for the borrowing of the money or the lending of the money? And somebody mentioned, and I'm going to butcher his name, Twain, whatever. He's in one of our chats. He mentioned, or he wrote, that the terms are stipulated or it's dictated by the IMF.
Yeah.
So if they want to raise rates aggressively, they could do that depending on how the deal is written up. But if they have that leeway and they decide to do that, what does El Salvador have to do at that point? What options do they have aside from liquidating some assets, a la Bitcoin, to pay off the debt it's now going up in terms of servicing it? And so this could be a 4D chess move by both parties to try to outwit each other.
Maybe.
In terms of how this is, the Financial Times in the past, they've been wrong. I'm not saying they're going to be wrong this time. I just want to wait to see what happens. I want to see how the terms are, if indeed it's going to be a borrowing of money. Why couldn't you just go to Michael Saylor and borrow some money instead, right? Like there could have been an agreement and just borrow some money straight from Saylor, and then
Mike's doing 0%.
Right, just didn't get it or spin up a company and
going the other way anyway. The other piece of this is that there's at least some adjacent speculation here that the IMF is not long for this world because the Eurozone and Europe as a sort of unified actor on the global stage is not long for this world at this point. And so maybe there's something to that too. This guy's going, okay, I'll take the loan knowing that you guys are going to be in very hot water over the next 5 or 10 years. I think there's actually a pretty keen chance that happens, like a significant possibility that happens. So there's that too. And, the other piece, Len, is, if you can get a 10-year loan, what's Bitcoin going to be in 10 years? Is it going to be 400K, $1 million? Is it going to be more than that? Global liquidity, is it going to be increasing or decreasing? Is he saying to himself, I'll take the loan, 1.3 billion, use it now and watch the value of what I buy appreciate while the value of the currency declines? It's all sorts of stuff. other thing too to consider is the IMF. You know, they don't have a military arm, but America generally is the military arm and the sort of soft power arm of all these institutions. IMF doesn't have that. You know, America doesn't seem to care as much about the IMF as it does other NGO branches, you know, UN adjacent vehicles. And so maybe these guys are just saying like, we don't care how this goes over the next 4 or 5 years. We want the money now for something important. And it could be anything, right? Like, why not? Is it possible they build out like an energy system and then put mining on it? Is it possible they do continued crackdowns on violence and gangs across the country? Like, it's possible they do anything, and all that stuff would be good for two things: their bonds and the resiliency of the Bitcoin trade, right? So, you know, that old meme kind of holds true here, right? Everything is good for Bitcoin. Maybe this is just another thing on that list of everything.
I don't have enough data to give an answer to this, but how many raging successes have then been from a country that went to the IMF with their hands?
Yeah, zero. The answer is zero.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I would have probably said, but I don't know. Maybe there is some. So just that alone leads me to wonder, this is probably going to lead to not something good for El Salvador in the long run. But
yeah,
you know, I could be proven wrong.
I don't know. So, I don't know. I don't know where it come down on all this. I do think it's an interesting story, and it's definitely something to keep an eye on, because this guy has been outspoken not only about his passion for Bitcoin, but about how he thinks all these international organizations are cheating people.
What is to say that maybe there was a pseudo threat against him, saying, "We'll try to get rid of you if you don't do this."
Oh, maybe.
You know,
I don't know. We've talked about that before too, right? Yeah. Victoria Nuland shows up. She's not there to. She's not there to try your signature cocktail. She's there to overthrow your government, right? I don't know if it went that far, but
it could be like an e-girl or something that just shows up, right? And right, it just tries to. Who knows? Let's move on. Let's talk about one of the other big news items that took place this past week. And Bitcoin hit $100,000 per coin against the US dollar. First time ever happened. Never cracked this magical number before. Maybe. I don't know, even with inflation, and never you got there. Anyways, block clocks are all over the world. We talked about at the beginning of the show. They omitted the dollar sign because there's only 6 digits that could be displayed on the block clock, plus the BTC in per US dollar. So for people who are wondering what happens with a block clock when you get to 100,000, the dollar sign disappears. So that's what's happening. The dollar sign is disappearing slowly but surely. The question now remains is what happens with the people that had laser eyes? Because, you know, there's people that had laser eyes and they said laser eyes till 100K. Well, we hit 100K. Now, I know that we're not there right now. We're very close. But did they get rid of it, you know, in the following days, weeks, months? I don't know. I know you didn't really care much about that initiative. And personally, I didn't give a fuck. I do not give a fuck either way. But still,
did you ever have them? I don't even know if you had them or not.
No, I never had my picture. I've always
you didn't. You're like a mug. Yeah, the mug.
Yeah,
of the CBP.
I've never had a picture of me there. So like, I could put laser eyes on that, but I don't know how it looked. But I never did. Either way, like it's just as you know, another thing that people are gonna have to do. They have to change their profile pics. But the latest pump in this Bitcoin price, it's interestingly enough, it seems to have been correlated with the release of the McRib. Not sure if you saw this. So the McRib, came out. Last few times it's been released, Bitcoin's pumped. So someone provided a chart to prove this. December 2020, McRib came back, Bitcoin pumped.
Huge.
November 2023, McRib came back, Bitcoin pumped. December 2024, McRib came back, Bitcoin pumped. The only exception to the rule is 2022. And that happened in October 2022, and that was near the bottom. We almost hit 15K at that time. But that was the McRib farewell tour. So maybe, you know, it's either way, people should be, I guess, removing their laser eyes as of this, maybe replacing them with McRibs on their eyes. So McRib eyes.
You know, if you rearrange the letters of Satoshi Nakamoto, you get McRib is back.
Oh, fuck off.
No, you don't. But it's, you know, you can pull that at a dinner party maybe after a few beers and people might buy it. I do you care about 100K? How much do you care about 100K?
I do. It's a symbolic number that we hit. Think of all the normies out there that now look at it, and I have 0 friends, none. I have no fucking friends, but still, I was contacted by some people that are not friends and talked about Bitcoin. And this past week, and I went to a dinner party with family. And God, I'm insufferable. Like I don't know why anyone would want to hang around.
Same.
But you know what? Like at the end of conversations, if people are like they're gonna buy Bitcoin, so
I
just
know.
because I don't know if they're just pandering to me or
I just don't care. Like I think for Bitcoiners, 100K is bittersweet, right? Marty Bent really put this well over the last few weeks. 100K is the end of the beginning in Bitcoin. There is no more, is this going to work? There is no more, this is a Ponzi. There is no more, could Ethereum flip Bitcoin? There's no more of any of that. You know, there was one winner, it was Bitcoin, and there's nothing else to this. It's the end of discussions about, well, are Bitcoiners really right that hyperinflation is going to cause problems with the currency? Are Bitcoiners really right that the only way to preserve your wealth is to have digital scarcity? Are Bitcoiners really right that all the things that worked for 5,000 years, whether it's gold or real estate or whatever, to preserve wealth across generations, are all those vehicles going to become obsolete and, you know, be run over by Bitcoin? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. No doubt about this at this point, in my opinion. This is what Bitcoiners think. Normies, on the other hand, now are, I think, a mix of jealous and looking. I have friends who know me very well and have known me for a long time. Some of my best friends, some friends I've met in the last 10 years, all know I'm in Bitcoin. And I got mixed messages. You know, I get messages much like you, much like anyone watching and listening to this program, I'm sure also does. Anytime the price dips 15%, oh man, hope you got out. I told you not to put all your money in there. You're too concentrated. My own father, when I bought this house 2 years ago now, or a year and a half ago now, told me that I should sell Bitcoin to help with the down payment. I declined. I said it was a bad idea. Had, you know, a couple of not quite arguments, but not quite discussions for the back of the church about that. And, you know, it's my earlier point about some people hating and some people just watching. You know, I have people in my life now who are asking me when I'm going to sell. Man, 100,000, you should sell some, take some money off the table. And it just goes to show you how the normie doesn't understand what Bitcoin is still. They still only talk about it in terms of the dollar value. They still only talk about it in terms of how much did you make and when can you get out. They still only talk about it in terms of, well, at what number are you going to sell back to fiat? There's never any thought from them on, well, are people going to take Bitcoin for a house if you want it? Are people going to start taking Bitcoin for cars or, you know, for any other service, for different things of value that are not fiat currency, you know, grounded in fiat currencies, grounded in skills or grounded in education, whatever. There's never any thought like that from them. And, you know, when I think about how this could be possible, it goes back to some of the stuff Saifedean says in his books and his tweets and his podcasts, and other people say it. You and I have touched on it, I'm sure, over the years. People don't know what money is. They don't know what value is. They don't know what wealth is. When they look at wealth, they think, yeah, I have this house, this liability. That's, you know, 80% of my net worth in a lot of cases, sometimes more. It's the most expensive thing I have to deal with every month. It's the most stress inducing thing I have to keep at top of mind every time I look at the emergency fund checking account. That's wealth. No, it's not wealth. You know, when I think about wealth, is it all the gold in my vault? Is it the gold chain around my neck? Is it my car? Is it the artwork I keep? There's arguments to be made about all these things. Is it watches? Is it diamonds? But the thing is that none of those things offer all the properties that Bitcoin offers, thanks to its digital nature. And now the argument that Bitcoin doesn't offer the value prop, the scarcity value prop, those arguments are gone and normies still don't get it. So maybe the next question we should talk about on this show, and something to think about, you know, when you're talking to your friends, is what is the thing that's going to make them get it? Because all I see is people who don't get it but like the price. Those are the only people I see now. People who don't get it but like the price. And I just don't know at this point, after the years of inflation, years of currency debasement, years of printing, you know, like fucking Trump says something on TV you don't like, and the US sends another 2 billion to Ukraine, 2 billion to Israel, 2 billion to whoever, right? The money is free for everybody except you, and still you don't understand why I don't want to sell back to the printed shit token that the government produces that I have to fucking work for. Why would I ever want to sell back to that? What would have to be so fucking wrong in my head that I would go from the hardest money that's proven itself over 15 years, that's steamrolled everything along the way, back to fiat, back to here's $250 from the federal government. Here's $250 from the province. We're taking away the GST. We're giving away money to this country. We're giving money to immigrants. We're putting people in hotels. We're taking in immigrants from Africa and treating them for HIV instead of testing them. The money's fucking free for everyone except you. And still, you want me to sell back to fiat. You don't get it. And I think, Len, that honestly, at this point, some people just never will. It's a hard thing to get, and some people will just never understand it. They'll take it. They'll look at the price. They'll look at some exchange rate somewhere, but they will never actually get it the same way that they don't get what dollars are now.
When you first got into Bitcoin, how long did it take you to realize what Bitcoin is?
6 months.
Like, to the point where
6 months,
sorry?
probably. 6 months, probably.
Oh, okay. For me, it was much, much longer. So, okay, let's say 6 months. Now, how long has it been since we've had hard money? It's been 54 years. There's a number of people that have never lived enough time that in an environment that it was hard money. They may have been born in the 60s, but they just don't remember shit. So there's a lot of people who just don't understand what hard money is. And unplugging from the matrix takes a lot of effort. So that's all they know. I'm not trying to justify what they're saying. It's the reality. They are just, this
I'm
is
with
all
you,
they
man.
know.
Yeah.
They've been spoon-fed this their whole life. And it took you 6 months after first buying Bitcoin before you figured it out. These people aren't even at the point where they bought Bitcoin.
It's crazy. And
like they take longer than that.
The one other thing I'll say is fuck all the people who said this was luck. Fuck anyone who says that. Fuck anyone who says that we got lucky. Because to your point, I'm plugging from the matrix, and that might be a little bit hyperbolic, but there is something to say about going from sort of putzing along in your day-to-day life, smoking joints, watching Netflix, jerking off, and going to bed, to all I care about now is hard money and how to get more of it. And everything in my life otherwise looks to me to be, at the very least, needing a skeptical eye, and in the worst case, an outright effort to deceive me to keep me in line. That's hard to do. Not only is it hard to do because it means you have to have disposable income, you have to have curiosity, you have to have all these things, but also because it makes you, like you said earlier, I know you're just joking, but man, like I've had some fucking hard conversations with people that I really like at work, personally, people in my family, friends of mine, friends of my wife's, friends of my dad's, friends of my in-laws, like everyone knows you're the Bitcoin guy. And you go through these phases in Bitcoin, right? And the first one is 100x. We're going to go to the moon, right? We bought, when you and me started looking at this, it was like $7,000, went to 20, and then back to 3 for like a year or whatever it was. I forget now. But, you have to make it through those times, right? And during those times, you have two choices. Either you submit and bend the knee to all your friends who are still at the bottom of the bucket and trying to make sure you don't climb out, or you look at this new group of people, right? You stop looking at the shadows on the wall and start looking at the guy behind you casting the puppets. And you think about, man, maybe there's something to this. I have to dig more into this. What is money? What is fiat? Why is the money like this? Why are we debasing? What is inflation? Why 2%? Those are hard questions to ask, and they're difficult answers once you see them to accept, like you said. When you factor in on top of that now, especially in Canada, a country that is heading toward third world shithole at a rate you don't even see on the fucking Autobahn. When you look at what's going on here, people have no time to investigate these things, no money in which to invest in Bitcoin or even stocks in a lot of cases, and are stuck in neighborhoods and jobs and schools, communities that don't feel like they're benefiting from investment on their part. And so all these things together put you in this dire situation. And instead of trying to get out of it, you're just trying to slog along. You're trying to make it another day. That's the place you can't be. And that's the place a lot of Canadians are. This was nothing but luck. is a crazy thing to say. All the investigating, all the reading, all the podcasts, what does that mean? While you were out partying, I was learning the Bitcoin, right? While you were out smoking dope, I was learning the Bitcoin. Every ounce of money or every, dollar you spent on jewel pods and porn and Netflix and beers and whatever, I was pumping it into Bitcoin because I think that I knew what I was doing. I thought that I was onto something, and it turns out I was right. And that's what you got to start saying to people. I wasn't lucky. I was right. And that's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. You don't have to talk to anybody. You don't owe anybody a shred of polite interaction. You don't owe anybody a shred of, black tie etiquette when it comes to whether or not they say you were lucky or you just happened to catch on, or, well, you had extra money. Or one thing I've heard before is like, my dad helped me through school. And so he's like, I've heard people say, well, you had money because you have to pay your loan. Yeah, maybe. But like, what is the end game of all this, right? Like, is everything that my bloodline has ever done lucky, for me? Is my decision making that's going to benefit my daughter, my wife, her kids? Is it all luck? Is it all just luck? No, it's quality people making quality decisions, passing down quality genetics over and over and over again until we get it so right that it's undeniable. And until, to quote John in the chat, it makes you hated and hunted. And we're seeing that now. Talked about this many times. In Canada, everybody wants your fucking house, right? Prime Minister last week announcing that Airbnbs will be targeted. Airbnbs is just another way of saying private property targeted in Vancouver and other places. Europe talking about more and more money to wars in which small countries are sending good men and women of all ages to the meat grinder for a cause that is no closer to their heart than it is to yours or mine. Currencies that are being debased constantly and at an accelerating pace because we refuse to get spending under control, because we refuse to stop spending on pet projects, because we refuse to stop hallucinating that windmills are going to save the oceans. I'm out. And you could have been out too. But instead, what'd you do? Watched Netflix, jerked off, rolled over, farted, went to bed. Have fun, man. You were wrong. I was right. And I don't care what you think anymore. I'm not going to try and convince you to buy it. I'm not going to talk to you about it. I'm not going to do anything. I don't have the time. And to be honest with you, you don't deserve it. So that's it. You guys figure it out now. I'm done, talking to people who don't care about it.
I'm still the guy that will talk about it. You know what? For whatever reason, anytime I have a chance to talk about it, like I said, I'm insufferable. Like I could see myself in
certain settings. But Len, if someone comes at you and is like, "Yeah, you got lucky about that. I was pretty lucky you found that," or they come at you and say, "Well, what are you going to do if there's an EMP?" Like, I should curb stomp the EMP people. Why don't I just tie the EMP guy to a football upright and leave him there overnight? Like, what else can I say to the EMP guy that's going to, how is this guy ever going to contribute to society, the EMP guy?
The only thing that matters in that,
he's almost worse than the Amazon widget buyer, the EMP guy. What if the internet goes out? Are you fucking stupid?
Then it comes down to food and bullets. Those are the only two things that really matter. And you'll be bartering with stuff that matters to people. And that's it. And I just wanted to go back to one thing. I've been thinking long and hard for a long time about this. And I've come to the conclusion that Canada still is one of the best places in the world to live and earn a living if you could do that properly. Like, I know it's very tough for a lot of people out there because it's hard for them to pay for bills, rising cost of food, rent, housing, whatever the fuck it is. But if you're able to exceed that and be able to start saving money, it's one of the few countries in the world that you could do that and just earn a decent living.
Yeah,
and
we're
able to eventually parlay the. I've thought about this long and hard. I've been thinking about, like, where in the world is it for working between your working age? The United States probably is the best, but Canada is fucking very close to it. I mean, I know there's a lot of
Canada is at the beginning of an incredibly speedy and dizzying decline into poverty. 40% of the population works for a government. There's probably 20% more of the working public that's either subsidized in the industry they work in by the government or otherwise propped up by government spending. We have the most generous pension system. We can't afford any of it. Healthcare is crumbling. Schools are some of the worst in the country. Hamilton Spectator put out a story the other day, fucking retarded. These guys had a story about Hess Street School and the successes they've seen in the growth in terms of people passing the grade 3 and grade 6 literacy test, Len. They saw a 15% jump in kids who passed that. Wicked, until you read the story and realize that the number was really just 3 people passing last year to 4 passing this year. Like every system that you rely on to continue to support the programs that Canadians enjoy and need in some cases in generations to come is failing. And I would argue in 90% of those cases, the failure is irreparable and irreversible and long-term because we just refused to admit that we were doing stuff wrong for the last 20 years in some of these cases. There's no doubt, there is no doubt about this. And so when people say Canada's not that you're really dying on this hill, Canada is one of the best places in the world. Okay,
no, I think that's a hill I probably will die on.
That's just because Europe is doing things even more dumb than we are and even faster than we're doing them. Like, it doesn't mean that we're great. It's like, yeah, I would rather, get hit by a stretch limousine than a school bus, but it's not going to end well for you in either case. Right. And so when I look at the stuff going on now, and maybe it's just because I have a kid that I'm kind of more willing to take the gloves off here. But I mean, what are we talking about? If you don't have Bitcoin or even some of these other secondary assets, real estate, gold, whatever, you are in huge trouble and you're not going to know it until it really hits you in the mouth. And I'm telling you, it's going to hit you in the mouth in the next few years.
And in Canada, you have the opportunity to accumulate it as long as you have a job that pays in excess of your minimum requirements. You're able to then stack a decent amount of Bitcoin compared to a lot of other places in the world. A lot of other places in the world, I'm going to defend Canada here because we have, say what you want, we have political stability here. The government isn't falling every fucking 2 years or every year or so. There's political stability here. The currency isn't collapsing, maybe slowly going down, but it's not collapsing like others have. Just look at Turkey, Egypt, for instance. You don't have police knocking on your door demanding shit. There's a lot here that the rest of the world looks at with envy. That's why people want to come in. We have natural resources we could tap into, and it will be tapped into in the future. Shit like fresh water, lots of available land. There's a lot here that people are sour, but in the reality is, man, if you can earn a living here, you have the ability then to start stacking Bitcoin and stack quite a bit of it. Maybe not as much as the United States, but compared to the rest of the world, try doing this in insert country name here.
Yeah,
you won't be able to because the currency you're dealing with is fucking
I disagree with this big time. This is something that people in our age demo, sort of 35 to 50, have no problem with. But what is the likelihood that somebody coming through the university system now, gets to quote unquote earn a decent living? They can't afford a house, right? So that's the other question. Probably can't find a partner thanks to dating apps. I saw today, Bumble, something like 75% of women in the US on Bumble have their height requirement for men set to 6'6". Good luck with that. Okay. Short kings, you're fucked. So you're not gonna have a family. Since you're not going to be getting laid, you're going to find yourself doing other things to sort of, quench that thirst, whether it's pornography, strip clubs, or other sort of, I don't want to say degenerate, but certainly unbecoming behaviors that will affect the likelihood that you find a quality partner, raise a quality family down the road. And that, virtuous cycle will continue to haunt you as you get older. And then once you're older, after having gone through 20 years of one income in a condo, you will find yourself disillusioned and still with no money, still with no family. The country will continue to import third world labor to meet the demands of the economic engine, to meet this number of the GDP that really doesn't matter to anybody except bean counters at the top of the food chain. This country's in trouble big time. I really do believe that.
A lot of countries are in trouble, including the United States.
They're in a different kind of trouble, and they have a whole different toolkit to pull themselves out of it. Tools that we do not and will never have, thanks to the last 10 or so years.
So 1.4 million women in the United States are doing OnlyFans. They're OnlyFans producers, content creators, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
And if you break this down even further, that is between the ages of 25 and 34. I forget what the number is that I was able to figure out. 25% of people within that category there are OnlyFans producers. So that's that's not success. That's not like, so I'm trying to say everything you see wrong applies to everywhere in the world.
For sure.
It's just fucking brutal. So what you can do though, what you can, even in Canada, as long as you are able to graduate with particular STEM degrees. I'm not talking about degree in history. I can make fun of that because
even STEM, you can't afford a house in a major city with a STEM degree.
You don't need to afford a house, Joey. That is not the be all and end all. What you have to do is exceed your minimum, and whatever that is, stack corn. And if you could do that, you are winning. And you could still do that with a currency that has value in which you could buy Bitcoin at a decent price. You can't do this. What if you're in India, for instance, and you're using the Indian rupee? How much Bitcoin can you buy with the Indian rupee? You have to earn a fucking lot of it.
If you don't die of food poisoning on the street, then maybe you might be able to find a way. But otherwise,
but I'm trying to just now insert any country that I'm saying here. The same thing applies. I'm trying to say that you have the ability. You have to put your nose to the grindstone and fucking work for a long period of time. But this is one of the places where you can, in the world, do that. At least you can still do it right now. It may change in the future. I don't know what's going to happen. But as of right now, I can say that, yes, it's possible. And that's why I look at, for earning potential, it's a great place. And for other things, you can make arguments and fine. I'm not going to defend that. But for earning potential, and that's, to me, that's the most important thing. It's how much you earn and spend wisely during your prime years. Because then when it comes time to retire, if you have a nice nest egg, the world is open to you. You can go anywhere you want, as long as you have enough stacked away.
You need Bitcoin, man. You do.
Yes, you do.
To close, to tie a bow on this, it's impossible for me to understand people who don't have Bitcoin at this point. Like, even if you don't get it, you've tried everything else. Like, why not throw $5?
Because they have to be unplugged from the matrix.
It's insane. It's insane.
They have, as I said, their whole life has been in this environment where money has been tied to nothing. And so how do you tell them, here's something that's scarce? They're just, what the fuck are you talking about scarce? We could just make more of it. The problem comes, the government could just print another check, which is happening here in Canada too.
Every minute of every day. Yeah, every minute.
United States. This is happening in the state of New York. We could talk about it's like everywhere this type of mentality exists is that you could just paper over problems.
Yeah.
Right. So like this is just not simply a Canadian problem. This is just a universal fiat problem. And for people to unplug from that is hard.
Yeah. I talk about it in the Canadian context because I think there's people who blame like people blame winners for their own loser situation. And to me, it's just like, that's stupid. It's stupid to do that. There's a common thread I see among losers. One, honestly, is overuse of marijuana. Another one is, sort of weekly or daily beer drinking. And the third, I would say, is, you're either single too late in life or, in a toxic relationship with the opposite sex. Maybe the fourth is like obesity. If you're obese, you got to sort that out. But like, I just think one of the things in Bitcoin, the hunted and hated thing, that the comment in the chat earlier, I really do feel that one in my bones, because although my friends don't hate me or hunt me, I do feel now the stairs burning a little hotter than they did a year ago. It's easy to talk about Bitcoin, why it's not working when it drops from 20K to 5K, but it's a lot harder to say it's not working when it gets to 100. And then it's a lot harder to say it's not working when BlackRock's in and, Bitcoin might be a reserve asset and all these different things, right? It's hard to make these cases. And to your point, when people can't unplug land, how do they cope? Well, they cope with
everything else. They can drink themselves into a stupor.
Yeah, ill behaviors is one thing, right? But it's another thing entirely when it becomes violence or mob mentality type stuff. And anyway, let's keep moving. What else we got?
Bitcoin Well, I want to talk about them because they did something this past week that's following the MicroStrategy approach. Actually, that's a better way to say it. So what did Bitcoin Well do? they purchased 7.5 or roughly 7.5 Bitcoin. I think it was just slightly above it. And this was added to their treasury. And they also plan to stack more Bitcoin in the future. And they are in the process of selling $2 million worth of debt. And that's going to get them some more Bitcoin. Now, with this one here, the last debt that they raised about $1 million to get that 7.5 Bitcoin. I think that was the number that was raised. 8% is the percentage, the API they got on the debt there. It's maybe slightly high, but whatever. If the price of Bitcoin goes higher than that over a year, then this turns out to be a great move for investors. And but who knows what happens in the future. Either way, the one thing that they're doing that MicroStrategy is not is I talked to Adam O'Brien, the CEO of Bitcoin Well, and he's confirmed with me that they're holding on to their own keys. So that whatever they buy, they're not relying on third party to hold on to it. So if people like that or don't like it, this is what they're doing. Personally, I like that decision. I'd want to see one less layer of problems that could potentially be there. Either way, for them to add Bitcoin on their treasury, I like that move. I can't say much about the terms of the debt or whatever, but just simply buying Bitcoin and adding it to their balance sheet, I can't say that it's a terrible move unless there's terrible terms, but I don't think this is it. But I mean, I'm not sure if you want anything more to this.
No, I mean, what does there say? I like Adam. I think that he's, kind of misguided on the Ethereum thing. I've heard him talk about how he's a Bitcoin maxi, and then when it's his quarterly earnings report, he talks about how he's a Freedom maxi. That's okay. I think if you're selling Ethereum, you are kind of bending the knee to your shareholders, which is the thing you have to do if you're a publicly traded company. I don't fault him for that, but it puts him in a difficult public position when he has to say one thing and, behind the scenes, or I shouldn't even say behind the scenes. He's not trying to hide it. He's doing another when it comes to the Ethereum stuff. I will note as well that, he's been pretty vocal over the last few months about how the Sailor strategy doesn't work and people should not be buying MSTR stock and, a number of other different points. I don't want to put words in his mouth because I don't remember exactly what he said, but, he's mentioned things that I thought were sort of unfair criticisms of the MSTR strategy. Among them, maybe the most egregious was this idea that if Bitcoin tanks, MSTR stock is going to go belly up. What do MSTR people do? I think you can make the same case about his stock, probably even more severely, and his company probably even more severely. I don't know exactly what the financial health of the company is over at Bitcoin Well, but I hope they're doing okay. I just think that it's unfair to criticize MSTR for that when sort of, I would guess undoubtedly he's in a more precarious situation. That said, they issued at 8%, I think was the convertible.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
that's what I got as well. So it looks like
so that's not great, but if you think the CAGR on Bitcoin is pretty good, then 8%, you're not doing too bad, are you? What was Sailor's first convert?
No idea, but that was at a time when debt was still very, very cheap to get.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just curious. Sailor's still issuing 0% converts. So he's in a different boat, obviously a different capital pool than Adam is, but maybe if the next one, if Bitcoin Well does it again in a year or 18 months, whatever, or sooner, and it's lower than that, right?
They're in for the long haul. They're not looking at a 1 year.
For sure, Adam's in it for the long haul. If you look at you can look if you know someone with a terminal or have access to this info, you can see who the shareholders are. Adam is at the top of the list, and I don't think he has ever sold a share of his company. So interesting thought there. Say what you want about the man, he is all in. So we'll leave that there.
Coinbase is another one we should talk about, another exchange, and they made some news this past week. And I just want to stress to anybody out there who is a Coinbase user, I don't know who the heck would be.
What about Coinbase stockholders?
That's something totally different. I wouldn't recommend anybody hold it, but that's not financial advice. But
no, it's not. And how come it's not? You always say it like it's financial advice to me.
No, I never get financial advice. I'm just talking like just a rusted car maxi. What the fuck do I know? If you look at my car, clearly you're not going to listen to what I'm saying. Especially for rust protection in the car. I fucking have no clue. 23 years, by the way, my car has been with me. It's this past week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So anybody that's a Coinbase user should not use a VPN when interacting with their platform. And the reason for this is because a gentleman by the name of Scott Shapiro, he's their product director, and he tweeted this past week that, and I'm going to quote, PSA, don't use a VPN to access Coinbase. Attackers always use VPNs, so our risk models take that as a negative sign, even if you are legitimately using your own account. This is straight from their product director. And so by using their platform with a VPN, you are putting yourself potentially, not saying for sure, it's potentially at risk as being flagged as a bad actor. And who knows if that information could be passed on to Uncle Sam or whatever jurisdiction they're operating in, whatever you're using their stuff. So not only are VPNs frowned upon by Coinbase, according to their website, the Coinbase website, it's also indicated that ad blockers, security software, browser extensions, and more can prevent you from accessing your Coinbase account. All I have to say is what a load of shit this is, because imagine being flagged as a bad actor because you're using a ad blocker on your browser. They could do what they want. This is their platform. They have every right to do whatever the fuck they want as long as they're operating within the confines of the law. And in this case, they are. But you, as a user, a customer, have every right to not use their fucking platform and to seek out a better service of their Bitcoin. Bitcoin is one that comes to mind. Like, what can I say about Coinbase? I don't know who the fuck, what retail customer would want to use it. Maybe I could kind of understand, if you're a company, I could kind of understand. Even then I can't. But if you're just like Joe Blow out there or Jane Doe, like, why?
Isn't it just convenience at this point? Like, if you're an American and you're buying Bitcoin daily, weekly, it's just the easiest place to go. You want to buy some other shit that's on there. You want to use the Coinbase Pay thing. You can do that. I've noticed Coinbase Pay in a lot of places the last little while.
What is
shopping.
Coinbase Pay?
I think it's like Stripe. Basically, you can use some of your crypto to pay your, whatever bill you have to pay. Let's say you got, I don't know, buy a pair of sunglasses or something. You can use Coinbase Pay. I don't think it's actually called Coinbase Pay. Someone else can tell me what it's called, but
they take Haktua or whatever it's called.
Yeah, Haley's token. Yeah, we got to get Haley on the show. I don't think she'd come on. Maybe if I like send her a couple of thirst trap videos, she'll come on the show. But anyway, the Coinbase thing, the VPN thing is interesting to me because you know what it sounds like when I hear stuff like this. Do you remember like 2 years ago, maybe a little longer than this? You'll know for sure what I'm talking about. YouTube wouldn't let you use ad blocker when you went to their website. You remember that?
Yeah, that was like a year ago or so ago.
Yeah, and so like they ended up backing off of that. But I think when Coinbase says, "Oh, we don't want you using VPN," what I really hear there is we want to make sure we have as much data on each user as we can get. Number one. Number two, we want to make sure that we know which country you're coming from so we can obey the law. Important. Number two. And number three, I just think, Len, that they don't want people who are thinking about privacy using their platform. They want people who are thinking about ease of use and friction.
They want normies.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's really,
normies.
Yeah, that's really what they are looking for. And so to your point, they can do whatever they want, but you can also do whatever you want. I invested in Coinbase. I still don't use the platform. Like, it's not a great platform. Does Coinbase still do that earn thing? Remember they were doing earn for a while?
Oh, if you do some
answer a couple questions, they just like send you tokens and just trade them for Bitcoin.
That was during the ICO craze.
Is that long ago? I forget.
Yeah, that was 2018. That was during the ICO craze.
Yeah,
after actually the ICO craze. So that was a good time to get in and just simply convert to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Good times. Yeah.
I remember getting
that.
Forgot about that. Token, IOTA.
I can't even remember the fucking names.
Stellar Lumens I got. God, there was some bangers for sure. Jeez, man. We just got lucky, Len. Trust me, we never did any research. We just got lucky that we figured out.
The funny company that even says that, like, all they got to look at, my fucking car. Everybody out there, I know, everybody out there has a car that's newer than mine.
Yeah.
Probably not. There's probably a few people, but the reality is, like, look, I'm still driving that car. I double the value of it every time I fill it up. And I do it because, like, it's reliable for me. But, like, why would I spend my money on something else? I'd rather just buy more Bitcoin. People are traveling the world, getting new cars, everybody leasing shit. That's your fucking jam. That's cool. But
traveling the world.
I haven't been on a plane since 2017. So I don't travel, right? I spend a lot on Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Like, why not? So I forego certain things to get something else because I plan for the future, not for today. But that's my choice. And if somebody else decides to spend their money for today, that's your choice.
Yeah, let them.
You have every opportunity to buy. If you don't, one day you will. But at that point, the price of Bitcoin will be much, much higher and you lost out, which is too bad for you.
Yeah, totally.
Let's end it, Joy, because that's an hour for the Bitcoin stuff.
Sure. Yeah, why not? Hang out if you're on
stuff.
video, audio, Twitter. A bunch of you guys are here, a couple hundred. Nice to see. Welcome back. And if you're on audio, wait till tomorrow for the rest of the show. Until then, take care of yourselves.
And don't be a no-coiner. None of you.